This episode of RSR is brought to you by Native Instruments, SAE Institute, Spectra 1964, and Grace Design. These are tools that I use every day in my studio, from the Spectra 1964, STX 600, 100, and 100D, and Native Instruments Complete 26, to the central hub for my studio, the Grace Design M701 audio interface. Follow the sponsor links in the show notes. Grab my free mixing course at mixmasterbundle.com, and remember to like this video and subscribe on YouTube because it's a great way to help support this show. Now, get ready to rock.
Let's talk about Atmos for a second. I got into Atmos because it is so much more emotionally impactful. Being immersed in audio can really help tell the story of what the song is trying to do, especially for songs that have vocals in it. Even an instrumental track can benefit from Atmos, if it's used for good and not for evil. Sometimes like a cymbal swell, like washing from behind you, above you, and in front of you can really help to expand the emotional impact of like a transitional element in a piece or something like that. But it really does. Having something wash is just an incredible thing. It's movement that happens, either front to back, or there are things up high that happen, and suddenly you're in it in some way.
Welcome to Recording Studio Rockstars. I'm Lid Shaw, and this is the podcast created to help you become a rock star of the recording studio. Native Instruments now brings you Complete 26 with powerful instruments, synthesizers, and creative tools to help you make music faster and stay inspired. The legendary Absynth 6 is back with evolving textures and experimental sounds, while Contact 8 gives you the tools for chords, phrases, and arrangement right inside your workflow. With Massive X Guitar Rig 7 Pro, session guitarist instruments, and premium tools from Isotope and Brainworks, Complete 26 gives you everything you need to create in any genre. Go to nativeinstruments.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. Howdy, Rockstars. It's your host, Lid Shaw, and welcome back to Recording Studio Rockstars, bringing you into the studio to learn from recording professionals so that you can make your best record ever and be a rock star of the studio yourself. My guest today is BZ Lewis, a producer, an engineer, and mixer working in both stereo and Dolby Atmos, with more than 30 years in the recording industry. Through his Studio 132, BZ has earned 6 Emmy Awards and built a career centered on using immersive audio to help artists tell their stories. His work spans major technology brands, including Intel, Google, Microsoft, Apple, and Sony, along with extensive television credits such as the World Poker Tour, Dateline, People Magazine Investigates, and numerous MTV productions. His music production credits include Roberta Flack, Blame Sally, Victor Krummenacher, Kitka, Monica Pascal, and Chelsea, among many others. BZ holds a BA in music from the University of Texas at Austin, is a Grammy voting member, a BMI writer and publisher, chair of the Audio Engineering Society San Francisco section, and currently enjoys publishing deals with Media Creature Music, Iron Mike Publishing, and Bach Music. A big thank you and a shout out to our mutual friend Brian Murphy at Sound Porter Mastering for making our introduction and setting this up. Thanks, Brian. Please welcome BZ Lewis to Recording Studio Rockstars. BZ, are you ready to rock, dude?
I am ready to rock. And I gotta say, man, when you say it like that, like when you get that intro, wow, it makes me sound like I know what I'm doing.
Hey, man, that's the goal, right? We're trying to get out of the gates feeling good,
Oh my gosh.
Why not start every day like that?
Yeah, 30 years in the biz. That's so funny. I mean, hopefully I'll look back, 20 or 30 years from now and go, wow, 60 years in the biz. But that's just what it is. That's just like the gig, it's just how you live, It's
yeah,
just,
indeed.
That's cool.
And it's funny, you know, to even say it out loud, to say, you know, 30 years in the biz. When I think back to how long I've done this, same story. But at the beginning, I don't know that I felt like I was in the biz. Did you, when you started, did you feel like you were in the biz, or did we just sort of start by having fun making music?
Oh yeah, it was all about fun making music, you know, like that's where it all comes from. You know, no matter what you do, I mean, that's just where it all comes from. Like, I'm sort of rediscovering that with like the immersive audio that I'm doing, because it's kind of a new thing, you know. And I just keep going back to, we're all in it because of music, because we love either playing music or listening to music or doing something to the music, you know, like having our fingers in the music pie. It's all about love for music, you know. It's and that seems to be.
You know, if your fingers are actually in the music pie, does that mean you have a punk rock background? I mean, I picture like food fights on stage, you know, like Gigi Allen shows or something.
Yeah. No, it's funny. There's so many like food. I don't know. It's just this love of music that seems to permeate, and it's permanent, and it seems to never end in a wonderful way.
Yeah, indeed. Now, I think I spotted some guitars in the background. I probably saw a Les Paul and then a good rock and roll hockey neck guitar. Are you a guitar player first?
Yes, I am a guitar player. Yeah, I started playing, gosh, even before that, well, about that same time. When I was 7 years old, I grew up in my father's studio, and he has a syndicated radio program. It's called The Sound of Texas. He's still doing it.
Cool,
where he goes out and he'll interview somebody. This is all in Texas, by the way, where I grew up. He'll go out and interview somebody, and he'll reduce it down to like a 2.5-minute show and sends that to the radio stations. And back when I was a kid, that was all on analog tape. And so I would be the guy at 7 years old. I still can't believe he let me do this, but I would duplicate all the tapes. So my job was in tape duplication. And also right around then I started taking piano lessons, did that for several years. And then after like third grade, I just kind of put all the music down and just like focused on bike riding and playing with my father's like synthesizer and stuff. And because he had an ARP 2600, which is awesome.
Oh, no way, man.
But then I know.
Did you know at that point, at that stage, because that timing of that, I don't know if we're pretty close to the same age, but that timing of being 7, that's not too far away from when the ARP 2600 was the sound of R2-D2 in Star Wars.
Yeah.
But like, did you know that at that time? Do you think?
No, did not know that at the time. Yeah, that was a recent discovery when I heard, wow, that was the ARP 2600. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, guitar. I started playing guitar when I was about 14. I have an older brother, and he was taking some guitar lessons, and he showed me like an A chord. You know, you put that at the 2nd fret. I don't know. And I was and I could play it, you know, and then pretty soon I was playing with
only one finger chord, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like one finger, you put it on the
mash one. Yeah.
Anyway, it's super easy. Right. And I don't know, but I just sort of took to it really quick. And like, I don't know, within a couple of months, I was like playing along with like Van Halen stuff and, Rush, like 2112 and things like that. And I just really took to it. And, eventually.
And are we talking 80s at this point?
Yeah. I graduated high school in 86.
Same. Dudes. We're right on schedule, man. Same for me.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so you would have been one of my buddies who I was like, dude, how come you kick ass at guitar so much? I didn't even pick it up until I was a senior in high school. I think that's when I first started playing guitar.
Well, I didn't start playing guitar till I was 14, so that's not too far behind. You know, I feel like I started late in life, but I had the piano lessons early on that I think really made the difference for me. Like I really credit that.
And are you coming back to that a little bit these days? Because you're doing a lot of electronic stuff, your own sort of EDM compositions, right?
Yeah, but those all have like shreddy guitar things that are happening too. So, So it's a combo, right? It's a combo. Like I do this studio thing, and I love the whole electronic sound, but also love guitar. So that's left to my own devices. I'm going to do some like crazy like dubstep with crazy synths but with shreddy guitar. It's a weird combination, but yeah.
So right now you're joining us from your mix room studio?
Yeah. This is I used to have a studio.
Give us a description. Just sort of like describe it in words if you can, because like most of our audience is listening into this too. So tell us what are the tools you're surrounded by? What's your whole setup? You're actually in an Atmos immersive mixing setup right now?
Yeah, right. I'm in Atmos even right now, even as we speak. No, I've got a Yamaha O2R board. That's my mixer.
Way.
And it's funny. Yeah, I know. It still works, it still runs, and it does everything I need it to do. It's off to the side. Like I don't have the mixer in front of me. I have a keyboard in front. I have a QWERTY keyboard, and then behind that I have my MIDI keyboard. So it's an interesting studio in that I can I've earlier or late last year I recorded a 7-piece band in here. It's a garage conversion studio, so it's like 20 by 20 or like 20 by 22 or something like that. And but I have a fairly sizable control room. It's like 12 feet wide by 17 feet long. And then I've got another like drum room space and another vocal booth and then another closet. So, I could put a guitar amp in that little vocal booth and another guitar amp in the closet. And then I can have a drummer, and then, bass goes direct, keys go direct, vocalist in here for scratch vocals. And yeah.
So a lot of times you're sitting right there playing guitar, for example.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If I'm doing my own thing, I'm just right in here playing, and I can plug it. I've got, a connection through the wall where I can be in here playing guitar through an amp if I want. I'm usually using an amp sim, usually Amplitude.
Amplitude, nice, man. Yeah, that was one of my questions, was talking about amp sims. All right, are you ready for the unexpected question?
I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
All right, man. Guitar player in the control room. What's your chair? What chair do you use?
Hold on, sorry.
People don't even think to ask that, but that's like crucial. If you got arms on the chair and they're in the way, you can't play guitar.
Yeah, you can. Guitar is so exciting.
Tell me.
Guitar, dude, is so exciting. You don't need the whole seat. You only need the edge.
There you go.
I just sit. Okay, I don't know if you can see me, but I sit like this. There is no way this guy's going to get in the way.
Right. Okay.
And I'm also come from this sort of classical background, so I usually have my guitar on my. I'm right-handed, so my guitar is on the left leg, and I've got this 3-point hold. This leg, that leg, my chest. The guitar's not going anywhere. It's just right here. Yeah.
So as a classical, when you do the 3-point hold thing, it looks like your left hand is higher than the rest of us, us folk guitar players.
Yeah. Okay. But hold your hand up like this, and you'll see it's nice and straight. It's just like
everything
that's how you do it.
Functions better, right?
It functions better. You can see.
Right.
Really
you don't have to bend your wrist as much. Is that sort of part of the thinking?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, if you're standing up and you're playing way down here, that's ow.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's just that whole pedagogical study about how to hold your hand and how the hand moves, and this is how it works. This is how the best way to do it.
Yeah. All right. Cool, man. Well, the truth is, as a guitar player myself, every time I pick it up, I often find myself struggling with trying to get more focused, so that I've got a part in mind and I'm trying to play it, but I'm sort of clamming certain notes, and I'm like, all right, get more focused. And, sometimes it might be as simple as what you're describing. It's just like, you just got to rethink how you're holding the instrument so that physically what you're trying to do isn't so difficult for yourself.
Well, yeah, there's that. And then could you play it at a different place? And then, is there a better way to make that happen? And I don't know.
How often do you bust out a capo if you're doing sort of shredding
I
guitar?
used to never bust out a capo. I used to almost never use a capo, but as I've gotten older and lazier and a little more arthritic, I don't know. I'll just but it also depends. I mean, like I talked about this love of music earlier, and like my whole thing is about serving the song. So, sometimes you need a capo because you need an open string where there typically isn't one. So
Yeah.
even a half capo thing sometimes is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just depends on what the song needs. I say that a lot. It just depends on what the song needs.
Yeah, indeed, man. I love it. I mean, the number of times I've been in the studio with an artist and we're just trying to play, a clean power chord thing. And so I'm like, let's just put tape over the top 3 strings so they never ring, by accident, stuff like that. Just simple.
Oh, I use those all the time. Yeah. I've got
just techniques tricks to just try and like manipulate the instrument,
Yeah. Yeah, I have a little tiny box that I have just right here in a drawer that's got my EBow, a slide, a capo, and one of those little string mute thingies.
What's the string mute thingy? See, I don't even know about that. This is why I asked these questions.
It's just what you were talking about. It's here, I'll show you. I've got my little bag of tricks and my EBow, my slide, my capo.
Make sure you hold it right up to the camera, else we won't be able to see it.
Yeah, it's I had an intern who is in the biz get me this little EBow box, and in it I have my slide. I've got a really nice slide. Nice. Capo.
Familiar with both those.
Yeah.
Know that one too. What capo do you use? The Shubs?
Oh gosh. I think so.
I guess the Kaiser is good for those half capoing tricks.
Yeah, it's this little guy. You screw it in. I got this, like, a friend of mine gave this to me like 30 years ago. I still have it. But the little string mute thing is this little guy, and you just
hold it up high so we can really see it.
Yeah, it's got a soft part that goes on the fretboard, and then it's got this little.
Oh, and it'll mute all of the strings and give you kind of like that no sustain.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Yeah. Depending on, and you can tighten it up.
Good for doing like the Johnny Cash strum, like that kind of stuff too.
Yeah. Or if you're a gentist, someone who plays like really heavy, aggressive stuff, it helps to just mute the strings. So that way, because like if you're really distorted,
gentist?
Like gent, like like that kind of stuff.
Like
if you do that,
gent. That's what you mean, like a gentist?
Yeah, gent. It's
great.
DJENT. Is that how you spell it?
I don't know. And that sort of is that sound of like gent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You mute and strum at the same time.
Yeah.
But for like really distorted things, you kind of need that so that way the strings don't sympathetically ring.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Are you recording your own music or other people's music in your studio, but you're having trouble figuring out how to get your mixes to sound great? Do they sound weak and distant or lack punch and clarity? Well, I've got a gift for you to help you take your mixes from sounding like basement demos to sounding a lot more like professional mixes. And it's my free course called Mix Master Bundle. This course will show you how to get pro-sounding mixes from your home studio with free and stock plugins in Pro Tools. And the best part is, these mixing techniques will work for you in any DAW, whether you're in Logic, Cubase, PreSonus Studio One, Reaper, or anything you can think of. Are you ready to make your best record ever? Then go to mixmasterbundle.com to get started for free now, and you can find the clickable link in the show notes of this episode. All right, so sorry I took us on quite a guitar tangent there, but back to your studio and your Atmos. So what about things like I don't know, some of the just rough outline of the gear that you have to set up to mix that way? I mean, you obviously have to have a bunch of speakers. So do you have like
let's go back to this O2R for a second, because okay, obviously that piece of gear is ancient, and yes, I have other mic pre's that I use, but in terms of like, because all that thing has 16 digital outs on it. It's got AES EBU, which predates Dante by like 100 years. So, and I've got like a DigiDesign 192 and I know, don't laugh, also an Avid HDIO, and those have AES EBU for digital outs.
Nice.
It also has the ADAT optical outs too, that I use those simultaneously for my headphone things. But this mixer, it goes in and out digitally into Pro Tools. So I've got 16 tracks digitally in and out of Pro Tools, which is cool, plus another 8 per box. So I've got another 16 analog in.
Mm-hmm.
But this mixer also can at the same time do it can do 16 analog outs as well. So,
and we need that because we need that many analog outs to go to all our speakers, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Now you could I've got a bunch of Genelec speakers, and those also have digital ends, and I could use the digital ends for those things, but for now I just have everything analog coming out of my mixer, and I've got those come out to a patch bay, and then they're normal to the speakers. So I could at any point just patch anything into the speakers if I wanted to, and I don't know. I ran into an occasion where I needed that. Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I'm going into my mixer digitally and then coming out analog that goes straight to my speakers. So
okay, cool,
and you need,
man.
Yeah, so I've got a 714. Well, I've got a 724 system. It's really 714, I guess, but for bass management, I've got another sub. But yeah, it's awesome. I've got I've got 3 up front, stereo, and then a center, 2 on the sides, 2 on the rears, and then 4 up top, and then 2 subs.
Yeah, and the 1 is the subs. Is that really 0.724 then?
Well, I say 724 because it's really a 7. I've like the LFE goes to one particular sub, but then I've got another sub because all the other speakers are bass managed below 50
right.
hertz.
And then the second sub is sort of daisy chained off the first. Is that how something like that works?
No, you like from the patch bay, like from the analog out to my mixer going to the patch bay, each signal goes to the sub first, and then from the sub it satellites to the speakers.
Right. I've seen that. I've had subs where there's an output on the sub that sort of cuts off some of the low end and carries it onto the speakers from there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I've tried setting up differently. So I appreciate that. That helps because I think for some of us listening who haven't set these things up before, when people talk about Atmos and immersive and setups, all this terminology like 914s and 714s, it all gets thrown around, and until somebody, stops and just explains like what the hell it is, make your head spin a little bit at first. So I think that's helpful to just break it down for people.
Yeah.
And that's fascinating. So the Yamaha O2R, that I mixed on that. I remember some of the records that I mixed on that, which actually turned out really well. But that was back in the 90s. And what I specifically remember about it was we were actually doing all the automated mixing through it too with the faders.
Oh my gosh, wow.
And that was the EQ and the compression and all of it before we were mixing in Pro Tools, probably coming off ADATs. And and it was like you had to do this. I remember you had to really like mentally prepare to do a 5-step dance or five or 6 sequences every single time you wanted to do automation moves. You'd have to press a whole series of buttons in the right order and then be on the right screen and be ready to grab your fader and do your move. And it was it was a real coordinated thing.
Yeah. Well, my mixer is mostly used for monitoring.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Yeah, so it's not crucial. I mean, at some point when this mixer goes, I'm going to have to make some changes, and I am a bit at a loss about what to do. I mean, because they don't really make mixers because there's 3 different things I need to do in my studio, and one is podcasts, which we're doing here, which is so funny that we had connection issues earlier. I do some podcasts out of here, and I've got a setup for that. I record bands here, and I've got a setup for that. And I do Atmos stuff, and I've got a setup for that. And so I need 3 scenes, but that requires a digital mixer or some interface with a lot of mic pre's, and I'm But no one wants to walk into a studio and not see a mixer, so it's I'm at this.
Keep it around, man. Keep it around. As long as it's there, that's all that counts. I mean, I've realized that about my studio. There's a lot of stuff in the studio that it'd be easy for somebody to come in and say, when was the last time you used that? Get rid of it. Do one of those studio makeover shows or something. But the truth is, when a client walks in, they want to see stuff that reminds them that they're in a studio.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whether it gets used or not. They want to see, they like seeing old funky instruments, an old vintage, jam box sitting on the shelf that's maybe not being used anymore, but reminds you that it's cool,
But it's there, yeah.
But it's there. Oh, excuse me. I feel like I'm going to sneeze. All right, here we go. I made it. Well, groovy. Now, the other thing that's cool to hear you talk about too is just, holding on to some of the older gear that still works in a studio. I think we can all be faced with that. I think there's a lot of listeners here that appreciate that, because there's a lot of listeners who really have a setup in their studio and they're not always upgrading to the newest, latest thing. And there's also a lot of listeners that are just on the newest, latest thing. And it's a good reminder to us. I mean, all the audio companies are always bringing us new gear, but there's a lot of things that have been figured out a long time ago and sound just fine and will work just great for what we need to do. And also, it sounds like what you're doing, BZ, is you've got the integration where it's like maybe your Pro Tools can be current, the software can be current on the computer, but some of the hardware still functions and you can interface that way and still use we don't have to feel like something that we have in our studio that's been around for a minute always has to be replaced.
Right.
Because I've got a studio full of all kinds of stuff, and I hold on to it just like we all do, and then I'm like, you got to get rid of that when you're not using it anymore.
I know. Yeah, I'm very reluctant to get rid of stuff just because I know like someday I'm going to run into this thing like, oh, there's that one sound from this keyboard so I'll go run upstairs and get it, out of storage and bring it down and do that one
Let's
sound.
talk about those. So now you're also doing this, rock guitar EDM mashup that's really cool. And you've got some really wailing guitars in there and stuff. And you got all kinds of synths and dance beats going and stuff like that. So let's just jump straight to that now that we're talking about it. What is that project all about for you? You've got a series of records out. Why are you making it, and how do you make it?
Okay, let's go with the why. Okay, so I had somebody come into my studio once, and he said that he had a studio for about 15 years, and he never recorded himself. He was in my studio recording. He was paying somebody else like studio time. And he's like, yeah, I used to have a studio for 15 years, never recorded myself. And I thought that was like the saddest thing I ever heard. Like, it's like right up there with like Old Yeller or something. I mean, like it just made me cry a little bit. So I thought, I should be doing stuff. I've got some music that I've made and, just for fun. And so I went back and, got my first album together. We did a bunch of new songs, I guess. And that was like back in like 2000 or something. So I just, and then I did another album, and then I did another one. And, I think I've got like 5 or 6 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just
That's
like,
great, man.
It is, I think about doing your own music like having a pimple. It's like something that just comes from within and needs to be popped, and it's a pain in the ass. It hurts. It just is. It's just.
But then when you get
consuming.
Then this is good. This is great. This analogy keeps going. It's like then when you get it, it's like such a huge relief, and you also can't really tell anybody. It's like a totally personal thrill.
Yeah. And then you can either release it or not.
No, I'm kidding a little bit.
But how do
also,
I do it?
The Old Yeller analogy was great because you're referring to the sadness of Old Yeller, like the fact that, the faithful, loving family dog has to be put down in the end of the movie. But let's carry over to the other part, which is like, spoiler alert. Let's carry over to the other part, which is the good part. It's like, if you really want to do your music, you got to embrace the rabies side of Old Yeller. You just got to get foaming at the mouth and get wild and just start attacking it, right?
Oh, that's great. That's great, man. That's awesome. Yeah.
All right, cool. So, I mean, I'm with you too. I struggle with that too. It's like, I feel like I put aside the music making to learn how to make other people's music. And I think a lot of people
Yeah,
feel that way.
I am fine with that too, but I also write a lot for film and TV stuff, and I guess I should talk about that for a second. I'm mostly doing like we create a library for a particular show. And so it's I haven't scored to picture in a very long time, which sounds really funny, but I haven't done it that way. I just create I just create pieces of music that in a style that someone is requesting, and we do 10, 20 songs of that, and then I don't know, but every time I do that, I usually start with drums. Like once I get a drum sound, then it seems like I can just sit down and jam with it, and something will come out. Especially as soon as
what informs your thinking on the drum sound when you're starting with the drums.
The snare is so incredibly informative about genre, style, and it's so funny. Like the snare, right? But it is so evocative of whatever genre you're trying to compose for.
Well, I feel like tempo.
Oh yeah. Well, getting a groove going, what's the groove?
Like, I mean, are you starting with a mood or an attitude in a when you're
I usually have that
for that.
Yeah, I usually have that sort of in mind,
Yeah.
Like, oh, I need to do something. It might be a country thing. Like I do a ton of country stuff too. Like it's really funny. So if it's a country thing, okay, what kind of country is it? Like modern? Is it old? Is it fun? Is it upbeat country? Is it sad, mournful something? So, if you have that idea in mind, then you can go from there. And by the way, I do all instrumental stuff. I don't sing. I don't sing at all. I kind of never have. I mean, there's been a couple of times when I've had to, and it's not pretty, so it's yeah. I just
you let your guitar do the singing for you.
Yeah. Let the guitar.
And then, just sort of fundamentally, I mean, it's like if the attitude of the library that you're creating is action oriented and upbeat, then that probably means the tempo's more upbeat, right? And if it's chill and laid back, the tempo's sort of slow. And if it's sad and wistful, then it might be a lot of minor chords.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, you just go from there. I don't know. As soon as I have a drum thing, not a click track. I can't get any inspiration from a click track, but as soon as I have a drum, even a stupid 2-measure drum loop, that can be enough, and then I can start writing something.
Yeah. I like that quote, man. I just can't get any inspiration from a click track.
Yeah, no. Well, but that goes for people who record here too. Like if they are playing to a song, click, no. I will create a drum thing for them instead of a click track. It only takes a couple minutes, and then but then they've gotten way more inspiration.
All right, well, let's talk about that. So, BZ, I'm about to record a song. I'm in your studio. I need a drum track. I need a loop. What do you reach for?
Superior Drummer.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Hang on. Yeah, Superior Drummer.
Superior Drummer is the software that lets you get all those sounds. Oh, your camera might be a little higher now, but
yeah. All right. Superior Drummer from a tune track.
Yeah, and then how about the beat itself? Where does that come from? Does it come from the Superior Drummer library of beats, or do you use drum pads? Do you have a keyboard? How does that work?
I've got my MIDI keyboard in front of me, and I'll just tap out a beat, and usually that's enough. Or sometimes I'll tap out a beat, and then Superior Drummer has this thing where I think it's called Tap to Find, and I can play whatever beat I recorded. It listens to it and it says, "Oh, well, I've got these other beats that are just like that, but
no shit,
played." Yeah, I know, it's really cool. And then you get a real person who performed it. I don't know how they translate it into MIDI, but they do. But, hi-hats, open hats, various levels of open hats, all kinds of soft, subtle snare things that are virtually impossible to do on a keyboard. So I don't know. But then you get a much more realistic performance that way. If you have time to find it. But
that's
it doesn't take long.
Dreaming of a career in audio or the entertainment business? SAE Institute Nashville, in the heart of Music Row, offers hands-on programs where you'll learn on professional-grade gear with industry pros, learning through real projects, not just lectures. Explore studio production, live sound, audio for film, and a whole lot more. Or take the entertainment business program to learn about contracts, promotion, and more. With diploma, associate, and bachelor's programs, there's a path for you. Book a tour today at nashville.sae.edu or call 615-244-5848. The reason I like that too is it reminds us of being in a band where you're just doing the goofy dance and you're going like, stop, and you're talking to the drummer. And then the drummer's like, oh yeah, cool. And then they just start playing the beat. Next thing you know, you're making a song, and it's the way it should be, right?
Well,
Unless
another
you're a
thing
drummer
is,
yourself.
well, the best drummers find the best beats. There's also like, if you know how the song wants to feel, dance it. Seriously, like dance it, and then that'll tell you where the beats are. As goofy as that is. But that
it's like MJ,
really
right? Michael Jackson famously had them install speakers in the ceiling of the back of the control room so that he could dance during the making of Thriller and those records, because he needed to know if the song was coming out right.
Yeah. It's all about serving the song. I mean, that's my motto. I need a T-shirt. It's all about serving the song.
No, but it's nice to break it down, because I think those catchphrases, sometimes people are like, well, what does that mean? But I like hearing the idea, these fundamental things of like, get your butt out of the chair. Even though we figured out how to sit on the edge and play guitar, get our butts out of the chair every once in a while and just move around to the music we're making and make sure it's right. Honestly, it is the conundrum with making music in the modern age, where it's done sitting in front of a computer. Because, as a guitar player, as you know, we're used to standing up, and we were standing in a room with the band, and, you do naturally feel the music that way. And when we're making music sitting in a chair with a keyboard and a little drum pad and a computer screen, it's really easy to forget like where the groove is and where the
I don't know, man. I don't have a problem sitting down playing I guess it's here in the studio. Not at all. Not at all, man. Like, yeah.
Well, good, man. Push back. Tell us how it's done. So you make loops that way, and then where do you go next when you're composing? And when you're done with this stuff, it gets delivered to a library, and then it might get used in a TV show or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, you're jumping ahead about a million steps, but yeah.
Right.
Well, okay. So, Media Creature Music, that's who I usually do the library stuff for. And Media Creature handles a gazillion TV shows. And like, I'm a writer for a lot of these shows. And so I will get a request for, we need 20 pieces of music in the style of blank. And so they'll give me some songs that in the style of, and then I just create a bunch of songs in that style. And then I send them to my rep at Media Creature, and then sometimes the music gets used, sometimes it doesn't, and I typically kind of don't know until a year and a half later when I get my BMI statements.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really funny. I have no say really in like what gets used, but a lot of it does, and it makes it's certainly worthwhile to do. So yeah, I'm pretty lucky that way.
So it sounds like it's sort of a career-wise, it's a slow grow too, right? Where you're like, you probably create, you just create libraries of music over years, and then that accumulates. It's one of the things I've heard people say in the songwriting space is you're trying to build up a catalog, and then, when your statements come in from a company like BMI, from the music licensing companies, it's like a garden. Now it's producing enough food for you to eat, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I have probably 4,000 pieces of music that are out there
Wow.
through BMI. I mean, it's a lot, but That's kind of what it takes. And then from there, like I'll often send the stems along with whatever thing I'm making. So sometimes they'll just use a pad, like a synth pad for something. But I wrote it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it counts just like a full-on song. So it's really funny.
Okay, cool. What else can you tell us about the process? What about tapping into the world of the EDM sounding tracks that you've done? But I got a few questions around that. One would just be, talk to us about synthesizers. I mean, do you have some favorites out there? Do you have some go-tos?
Oh yeah,
things you reach for?
Massive. The original
Nice.
Massive, not the new Massive X, but the
Okay,
original
cool.
Massive. Man, that thing has it's just so plug and play. Like there's so many things you could just like hit a key and just, wow, it does all this stuff. Like it's got little built-in
Yeah.
sequencers in there, and some of those presets are just like incredible. And then, the Massive X, I rarely have good luck with that, but Serum, and now that Serum 2 is out, like that's another good
Yeah.
one. That thing's incredible
Serum's
too.
great.
Yeah, Serum.
Have you explored? There's sort of a newish one called Vital. Have you tried that one yet?
No, don't know about Vital.
I think you dig it,
I
man.
think I'll take a little note on the side here.
Lately. What's that?
I think I'll take a little note about Vital.
It's pretty great. I think it's actually a free synth, and when you pay for the upper levels, you're essentially buying like a few more features and a big library of presets. But really, really a cool one. It's similar to Serum.
Okay.
In that it can do a lot of wavetable stuff. Very
Awesome.
flexible.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I really go down the synth rabbit hole, and I get pulled into all this stuff. The next level for me would be actually making all the tracks like you're doing, So there's always that wonderful balance between how much we want to just explore all the gear and the equipment and the possibilities versus getting down to work and actually, cranking out some music. So it's cool to hear your story and hear about, these libraries of music you've made over the years and accumulating and building a catalog like that. Where do you like to push your boundaries? Where do you sort of try and push yourself to break the mold and get into new ground and all that?
Break the mold.
I guess Dolby and Immersive would be a lot of that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I guess. I don't really think about like, oh, let's break the mold. I'm just like, once again, it gets back to, let's serve the song. Like, where does the song need to go? And let's talk about Atmos for a second. I mean, like, I got into Atmos because it is so much more emotionally impactful. Being immersed in audio can really help tell the story of what the song is trying to do. Especially for songs that have vocals in it, or doesn't even have to, even an instrumental track can benefit from Atmos, if it's used for good and not for evil. Like sometimes like a simple swell, like washing from behind you, above you, and in front of you can really help to expand the emotional impact of like a transitional element in a piece or something like that. But it really does. Like, having something wash is just an incredible thing. Like hopefully it's not distracting, but hopefully it's just movement that happens, either front to back, or there are things up high that happen, and suddenly you're in it in some way.
Now, that's of course something you really experience when you're in a Atmos room with speakers, and with your Genelecs all around you. You really hear that. I think a lot of us hear this on things like the Apple AirPod Pros, which is what I have, and it's a different experience, but it's still really cool, And it's like, listening
it doesn't
to
even come close.
It does. That's fair. It doesn't even come close. But nonetheless, I know that's a challenge probably as a mixer. Is like, how do you strike the balance between those things? How do you like to think about it? Do you think about it as needing to work in all platforms, or do you think that you just, in that world of immersive, you have to sort of pick and choose which battle you want to win? Does
you
that
could think
question
about
make
that.
sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally. I don't worry about the playback necessarily too much because you can't control that. Like you can't control that any
Right.
more than you can control it in stereo. Like somebody's going to be listening on their phone. Somebody's going to be listening, or whatever. But
With
you
only
can't control
with
that.
only
I'm
one
not
of
going
the
to worry
left-right
about it.
speakers working.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I monitor whenever I'm doing an Atmos mix. I do an interesting thing too, in that I do the stereo and Atmos version in the same session,
Okay,
typically.
cool.
Yeah. So the stereo version that later gets mastered and sent out to the distributor is the Stereo Direct 2.0 down mix from the larger Atmos session. So
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where I just do it all at once. I just go back and forth between stereo, Atmos, and binaural along the way, and that'll cover your bases. Like that's everything. Those three scenarios are pretty much how people are going to be hearing this.
So let me see. Let me jump in and mention that Rockstars, of course, we have a playlist of BZ's music in the show notes. It's an Apple Music playlist, which will have it's an Atmos playlist of the mixes, which sounds killer. Highly recommend you check it out. One of the artists you work with is Sarah Lovell, and the song Stars, but just in general, what great sounding vocals. Her voice sounds so good, and your mix of it sounds so good. It's just right up front. You really feel like you're living inside the singer and experiencing that. And it occurred to me to ask you the question whether you think mixing in Atmos, if naturally the vocals have room to get mixed louder than they do in stereo. Is that even a fair question to ask, or the right question to ask? How does mixing vocals in Atmos, how is it similar or different than mixing in stereo?
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. There's like this huge battle raging on, like, what do you do with the center channel?
Yeah.
Because like when you're mixing in Atmos, like if you just have the vocal coming out of the center channel, like that could be really cool. It's a mono source. So, you got to be thinking about how you're going to do reverb. But then it being a mono source and being right in front of you could be incredibly directional,
Yeah.
But if you have the vocals in like the center and the left and right, when that gets collapsed down to stereo, suddenly what was in the center channel gets added to left and right, and now it's too loud in the stereo mix or in the binaural mix. So it's
and my experience is listening on the Apple AirPod Pros, which would be not a stereo mix, but a binaural mix, is what I'm hearing, right?
You're hearing, I think, a version of an MP4 mix. You're not hearing the binaural mix, I think.
Well, it's definitely, it's got the head tracking, like listening on Apple on the iPhone. If you
then that would be
head,
the MP4 mix because the binaural can't do that. Binaural is just left and right.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, right. That's a whole separate mix. But yeah, so anyway, you have to think about that collapsing into stereo, because like even if you just do an Atmos mix, there is going to be a binaural component to that, like what you hear in your Apple EarPods, basically. And so you have to be conscious of how that's going to collapse down into, left and right.
Native Instruments now brings you Complete 26, loaded with creative tools for songwriting, production, mixing, and sound design. The big news is the return of the legendary Absynth 6, with evolving textures, cinematic soundscapes, and experimental sounds designed to spark new ideas fast. Contact 8 continues to be the center of the complete ecosystem, with built-in tools for chords, phrases, grooves, and arrangement to help keep you in the creative flow. With Massive X Guitar Rig 7 Pro, session guitarist instruments, Play Series sounds, and premium tools from Isotope and Brainworks, including Ozone 12 Elements, Complete 26 gives you everything that you need to produce in any genre. Plus, Native Instruments continues expanding NKS integration with complete control keyboards and machine hardware. Go to nativeinstruments.com and use the code ROCK10 for 10% off. for example, if somebody was to click on your playlist in the show notes and they just have regular headphones on, they're going to hear, it's going to know that, or it's going to default to a binaural stereo recording.
No, it'll default to the stereo version. If you're listening on regular headphones, you have to hear the Atmos mix, and how that gets dumbed down into left and right. You have to have headphones that can decode Atmos, and that's either the Apple Pod Pros or whatever they are, and like a lot of the Beats, Dr. Dre Beat headphones, those can decode that. Laptops,
and that gives you the head tracking, or that doesn't give you the head tracking?
That will, those will give you the head tracking.
But then if you just have regular headphones and you go into the settings in Apple Music and just force it to Atmos always on, I think that forces it to give you the binaural mix in the headphones.
Oh, that would be interesting.
So
I don't even think that comes up as an option.
It does. Something comes up an option. I've definitely done it, and you have to turn on the level matching feature, but it lets you flip between force Apple to flip between a stereo mix or, quote, the Atmos mix with just a regular pair of headphones on to hear the difference. But that is one of the challenges with this stuff, is there's so many, it's such the Wild West with all this stuff that, it's a little bit of head scratching as you experience it. And I think it just comes back to your point, which is you can't really control what people's experience is going to be. It's just going to be what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So therefore what? So therefore you just make the music as cool as you can and just go, or basically, make it good for what you've got as a mixer.
Does it sound good in headphones? Does it sound good when you just do the stereo mix? Does it sound good in Atmos? And hopefully if it works there in all three worlds, it's going to work everywhere, in one way or another.
Now, when you're creating these mixes and you want to experience those different versions, where are you in the DAW that gives you that option to switch from one to the other to hear?
Well, Pro Tools has an option. Yeah, Pro Tools has an option where you can switch between whatever setup. You can do 5.1, you can do 7.1.4, you could listen to the binaural over speakers if you wanted to. You can listen to the stereo direct version over speakers if you want. It also constantly has the binaural output, so you can check what it's going to sound like in headphones, and that'll include the binaural render mode setting for whatever objects are happening. So, if you have something in your mix, you have an object flying around that's set to far or something like that, it'll be reflected even in regular headphones, the binaural mix.
Okay, cool.
So you can monitor all those ways, and you can just flip a switch or put on headphones.
And is that again, for those who aren't doing it yet, is that usually having like a couple of apps open at once on the computer, and Pro Tools is talking to the rendering app, or it's just all within Pro Tools now?
Yeah, it's just Pro Tools. I mean, the way I've got it set up is I've got I've got my 16 digital outs, from my Pro Tools system, and those go to the mixer. But you only need 12 for Atmos, right? You only need 7.1.4. That adds up to, let's see, 7. Take away. Yeah. You only need 12 for that. So you've got 4 tracks left over. And so 2 of them are the binaural render. There's like this, you can have live renders happen. So I send the binaural thing out to my mixer, and I can have that going to my headphones. And then I've got 2 other outputs that I usually send out to my headphone system when I'm recording someone live into Atmos.
Very cool. Very, very cool. All right. So what else are some things that you, what questions do I not know to ask you about working in Atmos that we should hear from you? Take the lead a little bit on telling us about what's exciting about it and what you think about.
Well, it's interesting. I'm working with a guy named Julius Dubose, and we are. He did a lot of work, a lot of experiments on getting people to assess whether space was like one of the major musical food groups like, rhythm, pitch, timbre, and now space is one of these things. And he figured out a way to prove it, and so
Really?
we did I know it's really kind of cool. We did an event at Dolby headquarters here in San Francisco, and it's like we had like 170 people there. It was an AES event that we did, and I got up and talked about how I work with Atmos, but then Julius comes up and he talks about his experiments in this, proving this, and he would do something really cool. He would have the same piece of music, the exact same piece of music, the same recording, everything, and it would play like on one side, and then it would play behind you, and then like it would move around a little bit, and then he would ask you to assign an emotional character to each one of the pieces of each one of the performances. And even though, it is subjective and people would have different opinions about, oh, this one is anxious, this one is calm, this one is whatever, people did feel strongly, they did have a strong emotional connection to wherever the sound was coming from. Mm-hmm. And so based on that, you can prove that sound is an emotional, that space is an emotional part of music composition. Mm-hmm. And so this is really exciting. And we're doing another presentation of this at the Dolby Vine Theater in Hollywood. I guess by the time this comes out, this happened in February 10th, 11th, 12th, something like that. It's coming up real soon for us. Awesome. Back in time. Yeah. So we're talking about how space is like one of the major food groups, and it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So when I think about that, like I remember going to see at AES in New York, it was a immersive presentation, and it was a lot of Dolby recording there was a lot of binaural recordings that were being played on headphones for everybody. And these were ones that were recorded with a binaural dummy head. And then for sound that would go behind your head, they would actually take a speaker and move it around on a track, for positioning. And it was very, very convincing in binaural. And I noticed that the sounds, in fact, it was the only time I've heard a binaural playback where I could clearly hear that sounds were behind my head, as opposed to, an Atmos down render. I never get a sense of overhead or underneath or behind me. And I'm not sure if we're supposed to get underneath anyway, but the experience and what I noted was that when something's right behind you, it makes you feel like it's like a little bit creepy and on edge. It's like somebody's sneaking up from behind you. You're like, what is that? So it really does have an emotional impact. What did you guys discover about things that are in front of you versus things that are on the side or things that are near and far, as far as emotional impact? And is that really related? Are they all integrated? Like things that are close with a lot of frequency range, does that set you on edge? Things that are close that are just warm sounding, is that comforting? Stuff like that.
Well, in terms of that, yeah, that's just like what happens in a stereo. But like, we're talking more about like movement, like within a space, or even positioning within a space. And how things move within a space. So it's that's really the focus about where this presentation is, and how that makes an emotional connection. Yeah, just like in stereo, you can have things that are up close, that feel up close, with like no reverb and a lot of high end. And you can have things that are far away with like, not much low end and not much high end and a lot of reverb. And so, that's just the same as in stereo. Just because we have all these speakers around us doesn't mean we can't have sound even beyond the speakers.
Right. Fair. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
Any takeaways from you about those emotional discoveries where you're like, oh, I'm going to try that on my next creation or mix?
No, it's just proving that we are working in this realm that helps to expand the emotional outreach that music can have.
Yeah.
And how,
So
like we, if you go see a band live, granted they're typically all in front of you, but there are things going on behind you too, like reflections from the back wall and that kind of thing. And you can have an immersive mix that doesn't have, say, a specific instrument, coming from that speaker right there, but you can have like the ambience of a space there. Which
wait, does this mean we're going to
have
have a friend yelling in our ear now while we're listening to music in our playback systems?
Yeah, we're going to have like just a bunch of candy wrappers back
our
here.
Our drunk friend. Are you ready to launch your career in the audio or entertainment business? SAE Institute Nashville, right here in the heart of Music Row, offers hands-on programs to prepare you for the industry. From studio production and live sound to audio for film and a whole lot more. You'll learn by doing, working with professional-grade gear alongside experienced industry pros. If you're more into the business side of entertainment, SAE's Entertainment Business Program teaches essential basics like contracts and promotion to help you navigate the industry. With diploma, associate, or bachelor's degrees, there's a path for everyone. Plus, Career Services supports graduates as they take the next step. Want to see it for yourself? Immerse yourself in Nashville's exciting music scene and book a tour today at nashville.sae.edu or call 615-244-5848. Okay, so another artist, Joshua McLean, Echoes in Glass, another beautiful record in your discography. It's wonderful, like wide stereo nylon guitars, and it's got this beautiful, it's like the guitars, the acoustic and the nylons are really wrap around your head, and I think maybe that leaves space for, the lead instrument to come up the middle a little more in focus at times. One of the notes, first question was tell us about that project and that record. But one of the notes I had when I was listening to it, because again, I was listening in my AirPod Pros with the head tracking. As I played each of your record, I might turn my head slightly to sort of see what it did. And I noticed on that one that my localization, it didn't seem to track in the same way as, for example, Sarah Lovell did.
Yeah.
And then I thought, and my first thought was, oh, shit, Lid, you broke it again, or like, the phone's bugging out. Are you getting it? And so I went back and forth a little bit. And then I thought, oh, maybe it has to do with certain things that are mixed in, get more localization than others. Maybe objects get more localization than things that are stereo effects, or maybe, if Sarah's voice was in the center speaker, that's very localized when you turn your head. And if something's just in the side speakers, it sort of moves with you. So that was sort of my question. If I'm even asking the right question.
No, you totally are. Sense. Yeah, no, this is awesome. Yeah. Yeah, whatever happens in the center speaker will move, or I guess you can turn your head away from it, For Josh's album, that one was cool because we didn't specifically, it wasn't specifically composed for immersive audio, but it was like he would lay down, he like live, he does a lot of loops and stuff like that. So it's like tailor-made for like Pro Tools and overdubbing and whatnot. So he would have a part, like a bass line or something like that. And I would put it like not in a particular location, but I would put it in locations, sort of connected locations. So it's not just coming out the left. So it would be coming out like in between the left and side and height, so like, or sometimes just all around in stereo. So it just depends. And sometimes I would put things like, in stereo, I want that to be clearly on the right. But even though it's in the Atmos, it's on all the right, like it's on the rears, the center, the rears, the sides, and the front right, so so that's, it's way more, that's more like a warm, cozy blanket. And if you listen to that album, that is all about, he does a lot of like, he used to do like, I don't want to say like yoga stuff, but he would do oh gosh, he's going to kill me for getting this wrong, but he would do like almost chant-like stuff or like healing stuff, you know? And so I think this music kind of reflects that. And so we wanted more of a warm, cozy blanket to where you're just always surrounded by sound. And that's not going to necessarily translate to head tracking very well. And it's sort of tailor-made.
Very interesting.
And also,
and I mean, that one does.
center.
Those nylon finger picking guitars are very like warm and comforting sounding in a nice way. And is guitar Josh's main instrument?
No,
or is it
cellist. Yeah. He lives in Portland. He's a video guy, all things video. But he used to play cello with. You mentioned Monica Pasquale earlier on, and I worked with Monica for like, I don't know, quarter century or something like that. But we had various. She used to have a band, and so I was often a part of that band, and Josh was also a part of that band, and so I don't know. That's how I met Josh. But cellist. Yeah, fantastic cellist.
Very cool. Yeah, beautiful sounding stuff. It's a great variety too. So another artist, Dedrick, I'd Be a Fortune. It really gave you an opportunity. It's one with a little more, I don't know if soul's the right word, but it's,
R&B soul.
Singing soul, groove music with background vocals. So talk to us a little bit about, the opportunity in Atmos to really do fun stuff with the BGVs where you're like placing things around you in the space. Do you sometimes get to put them behind you and above you and really get creative with where the background harmonies go? And also how is it different than mixing in stereo? I've heard people say that you don't have to carve up sounds quite as much when you're mixing in Atmos because each sound gets a whole speaker, to itself sometimes.
Yeah, you can do it that way. That song was done stereo and Atmos in the same session. I can't remember exactly where the vocals are coming from. Like, all the background vocals are coming from. But there is one interesting thing in that song. I think it's like at the end of the bridge, there's a vocal line that trails into the chorus that comes after the bridge. And as we all know, as engineers, that's really difficult to get two different vocal lines saying different words happening at the same time and make them clear.
I'm so glad you brought that up. That rarely gets brought up, but I experience it all the time.
I know. And typically I want to say, oh, that's just bad arranging, or, like you need to do something different. But sometimes you get in a bind or whatever. So, and usually like in stereo, you put one on one side, one on the other, or you sort of do that. And then you do some EQ things to make one super bright, so that way you can, like maybe the chorus, since you've heard it already, you don't need that vocal as much. So you could, do all this crap. And we still did that a little bit. But in Atmos, I was able to put that other vocal in the back, and it's a conversation. This song is about To You I Would Be a Fortune. Like I'm, like talking to this other person, like, oh, you're kind of a loser in a way, but if I was in your life, I would be like this for. But so the bridge is this conversation, and it's the tail end of the conversation. So it's another character, and that character can be in the back, and when you do that, like suddenly in Atmos, it's very clear. Like it's very clear what the vocal up front is saying and what the vocal in the rear is saying.
I think that's awesome because, to your point too, when we talk about the struggles of engineering and like this idea where things become unclear with two voices on top of each other, I think one of the frustrating things is, as the creative in us, maybe the engineer, maybe the producer, maybe the composer, can sometimes hear that part in our head, and we think, this idea works in my head. Why can't I get it to work in the speakers? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that audio pipeline is pretty small and there's not a lot of space. So yeah, but you have to just come up with creative ideas to do it. And so, I mean, even though we did this in Atmos, and to your earlier point about like, oh, each instrument gets a speaker, not always the case, but like you can have things in multiple speakers or whatnot. But let's see, I kind of forgot where I was going with this, but
well, let me ask you this question. So for fundamental stuff, to put something in a back speaker, do we put it, is it going into a bed for that speaker, or is it going into an object to be in that speaker? And how does that change how the effect of those background vocals?
It depends. Is it moving? If it's moving, chances are it's going to be an object, you know.
Right.
If it's static, yeah, that can just go into a bed. I typically do an object bed so I can get audio to each speaker. You know, like the default Dolby Atmos bed is only 10 tracks. So in the height channels, if you've got a 714 system, the height channels only have 2 up there. So it's like, you know, it's like in the middle of the left is where it is in the default Dolby bed. So, but I usually create a different bed for that, or at least another object bed that has 4, you know, so that way I can get to each speaker up top.
All right, let me see if I can say that back to you. So up above your head are 4 speakers. There's a left and a right towards the front of you, and there's a left and a right up above you behind your head.
Yeah, if you could look at it that way.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay, and then, but if you use the upper speaker's bed option and you send it over to the right, it's going to show up in both the right speaker in front of you and the right speaker above your head in the back.
Correct.
So therefore it sounds like, just like panning a vocal to the center, it sounds like it's just sort of dead smack in the middle. Yeah. And if you want them to be more located up front or behind you a little more, then you use the object, which can reach the speakers directly.
Yeah. You can use either an object to get wherever you want, or an object bed to get into that rear speaker.
How'd I do in my quiz, man? Did I get an A+ on that one?
Yeah, right. Yeah, way to go. Yeah. I mean, that's the cool thing about Atmos, though. Like you could do Atmos without speakers. I mean, you could just do it in headphones. You could just do the binaural mix and then, you know, check your mix. It's in some sort of room of speakers. But,
and have you tried that yourself? Have you tried spatializing and placing objects specifically in headphones first and then go back to the speakers to see how it translates?
Well, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to start an Atmos mix by referencing binaurally in headphones.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea. I thought that was a hack that we were considering. I didn't know.
No, man. If you start that way, you're going to be pretty golden. I mean, you're going to be pretty good because you're already arguably, the binaural mix is going to be happening because that's how you mixed it. And then, so that's already arguably the stereo mix. And then, you know, you just check it in Atmos to make sure it's working.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Dig it. All right. Here comes another, hopefully challenging question. When mixing Atmos for Samri, for example, one of the artists, I think it's the first track, right? Almost Famous.
Yeah.
How do you, and this has got a sort of a dance kick drum in it. And so it made me want to ask the question, how do you treat the kick drum and the low end different than a stereo club mix? Because you want, the music strikes me as it should feel like a club mix, but I know you're dealing with some different elements. You have the LFE speaker, and you have multiple speakers in general. So how does it respond differently as far as having enough pumping bass? And also, if you were doing a stereo club mix and you were, you know, Skrillex or something, you'd have it slamming, but you'd quickly learn you can't put that much low end in, or it sounds like a mess in a club. You know, it's like this. It seems to be this weird combination of striking the just right balance when you're doing dance mix like that.
Yeah, I don't treat it any different. I kind of stay away from the LFE or use it incredibly minimally because that's another one of those things like. You can't control, like this is my beef with the center channel and the LFE. And I don't completely avoid either, but I am very cautious about, like, I know like upstairs in my living room, I've got an Atmos system and, you know, like a totally cheap consumer playback thing. And like, but you can control, like if you're watching a movie, I usually crank up the center channel so I can hear the dialologue better because that's all coming out the center
I can
channel.
finally hear the dialogue, especially with these mixers.
Hear the dialogue. Yeah,
I think there's too little appreciation for great dialogue mixing in TV shows these days. Sometimes they say things I'm like, what the
there
hell
kind
did
of
you
is.
just say?
Yeah. I mean, like Family Guy, like that animated show, like that has no music when there's a voiceover. There's never music. I think.
So
yeah.
nice
For the most
clear.
part, nice and clear. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, but you can control, like, you can turn up that center channel. So like when you play a piece of music through it, suddenly whatever's in the center channel is way too loud, So you have to be very cautious about what you're going to put in the center channel for that reason, if you're worried about that. Not everyone is. And the same thing goes with the LFE. The LFE is called low frequency effects. That's what LFE stands for. And unless you have an explosion in the middle of your song, you don't need the LFE. The left and right speakers are going to be doing the same thing that a stereo left and right system is going to be doing. So if you've got enough bass in your stereo system, you've got enough bass. So I typically don't even use the LFE for most of my mixes.
I like that. I like that. Just you breaking it down like that kind of answers the question. It's like a low frequency effect. Is your kick and your bass an effect in the song?
No.
Or is the sub of that chorus synth that you only hear on some systems the effect,
Could be, yeah, totally. You just got to serve the song. You just got to see what the song wants, and then do that. Yeah.
The song wants wants you to get up out of your chair and dance around singing the lyrics. That's what the song wants.
Yeah. That song you mentioned from Samri, she brought in this song, and I knew exactly what needed to happen. I knew exactly what bass sound to find, because as soon as she started singing it, I'm just like, I know exactly what to do. And I came up with that bass line, and I found the patch. That's the other advantage about doing all this library music is I know where to look, for sounds.
Right.
And because I do that often enough anyway. And so if I need this bass sound, I'm like, I can go to Massive and find this bass sound. I know, or Serum. I think that was a Serum patch, and like I know exactly where to go. And boom, it just came out so fast. Like that was amazing. Like that was really cool.
I
Doesn't
love
always
that.
happen that way.
Yeah, I actually want to keep asking you about that. So tell us, what's the secret? How do we get that level of familiarity? Because as somebody who appreciates all the synths, you quickly get overwhelmed with preset, fatigue, and you're just like, there's so much in here. It's so many possibilities. I don't know. Let me put it this way. I know exactly what it's like to be on a session and I'm looking at an artist and I'm thinking, oh, I've got this really cool synth. And then you pull it up and then within 2 seconds, their eyes glaze over and you realize you just killed the session because you don't know where to go find the sound. So what have you learned about, how we can get from I'm going to kill this, I risk killing the session by pulling the synth up to I know exactly where the sound is. Is it just putting in the time? Is it you making favorites lists?
Okay,
having a naming, system for things?
You either know where to go or know which song you use so you can quickly bring up that track,
right.
Like, I've got this great track. And in Pro Tools, you can import a track with whatever plugins, so including synths, but not bring in the performance, So you could do that. So that way you just bring in the plugin, and then that plugin comes up with whatever setting was there. So that helps. That's a great way to memorize things. If you can't remember the patch, you can typically remember the song.
Don't you wish don't you wish the DAWs would somehow take the patch name and create a tag so that the name of every session you ever used it on gets automatically tagged in there or something like that, and you could just search for it without even going there.
There's a hole that needs filling right there.
There's a hole that needs filling like a donut. Okay, cool. So to your point, it's just like
no, but it's also that like how do you do that without killing the session? If you know where to go, great, go there. If you know which song to go there. Also, just reading the person that you're with. Are they Are they open to that sort of thing? Are they, if they're gonna, if their eyes are gonna glaze over, then don't even bother, right? So,
Right.
and it's not your job anyway, right? So, in a way, like they should be bringing in the sounds. If it's that kind of thing, if it's a different kind of thing, then cool. If your relationship with this client is different and can support that kind of exploration, then great.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I've encouraged clients in the past to just go home and use their own time to do all playing around with all the Logic synths until they find unusual sounds, because I just know that on indie budgets it wouldn't be fair for me to suggest that we spend all day just poking around looking at sounds and presets, as much as I'd
Right.
love to, because I want to respect their budget and make sure that they're getting the most out of each session with me.
Okay, I'm going to lay something else out there completely different too. Like sometimes there's like this, I mentioned like being on the edge of your seat earlier, and also just like being open to inspiration. So this is funny, but sometimes I'll just open something up like a software synth or a new plugin that I'm not familiar with, just see what happens. Just see what happens. Give it 30 seconds, and then if nothing happens, great, move on. But man, I can't tell you how often I am pleasantly surprised by something that just comes out, and it's just really cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
Especially like I'm a guitar player, right? And so sometimes if I'm having trouble figuring out a part, I will just pick up my guitar and something will come out. So I'm fairly proficient, so something will come out, and so I can either lay something down on guitar, or I can take that and move it to keyboards or something. But just being open to whatever the universe is going to give you in a way, like you just have to be in that headspace.
Yeah, I think it's good, and there's an immediacy to performance too. So if we give ourselves the ability to perform something, where the universe is going to communicate through us with some musical ideas, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Okay, so let me jump to another fast question. You are closely involved with AES out in San Francisco. So tell us about what's exciting for you about AES. What do the rock stars need to know about it? Maybe our listeners have never been to an AES event. Maybe they don't even know that there's a local chapter, blah, blah, blah. What do you want to say about it? Give it a big shout out.
Yeah. Well, there are there are AES sections all over the country, all over the world, in fact. And there is AES, and it is worldwide. And there's the convention.
And that is the Audio Engineering Society.
Audio Engineering Society, yes.
That's us.
And yeah, it's us. That's right. That's us. That's us guys. I know like the San Francisco chapter, the one that I'm the chair of, we have an event every month. And the LA chapter also is incredibly active, and they have an event every month. We usually sometimes have 3 events in a month. So it's really interesting. Like in January, we were at the NAMM show. We had a presence there. We also had a series of talks at Silicon Valley Video Summit, which just happened in Silicon Valley. And also we had was that it? Oh, yeah. Okay, this month we're doing a tour of Meta's immersive studios. You don't think about Meta and like immersive audio, but wow, do they have some incredible studios there. And so we have a tour of that coming up. We also have a tour of PlayStation coming up in March. I think we're going to have a talk about audio restoration in April. In May, we have a talk about physical modeling at Stanford. I mean, just like all these incredible events, and you can join AES, and then you get an email about these events coming up, and you can register and go. So
That's super cool.
We also have every month we have an immersive audio listening session here in the studio, and I could fit about 6 other people here, and we just listen to and talk about all things Dolby Atmos, and it's good geeky fun, and so
That's
it's
great, man.
but we have events like every month, and so it's it's fascinating. And sometimes there's studio tours, sometimes they're white paper talks, but it's always about building community. Like that's my big thing, is just put on events, build community, and get everybody talking, working together. And this was sort of my approach to this was born out of the pandemic and how isolated we all were. And I don't know, there's several things here in the Bay Area. There's like audio nerds, there's the Grammys, and those things also have events often. And I don't know, but we also have AES, and we have all these very special events too. So
it's really fun. I mean, I go to local chapter events here. I feel like when I know about them, I'm not sure if I'm missing some. I've been to some really great ones. We also have a swap meet that happens in the summer where everybody, gets tables full of gear, and you go say hi to everybody. And then I love going to the conferences too. New York at the Javits Center, and then we were in Long Beach this year. And
were you there? I was there.
Actually, this will have already happened, but in Nashville, we're hosting AES in October, so it might be right about when this episode comes out too.
Yeah.
Which is really exciting. So we're going to have AES finally in Nashville. Yes, because we lost NAMM.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. I've never been to Nashville.
You got to come.
But I might.
AES.
Yeah, I should come. Then we can hang out like in person.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I usually have a house full of friends and podcasters and stuff like that, and we just go to all this stuff, and it's a blast. This year, 2026, it's actually going to be happening over Halloween weekend, so it's going to be a little bit spooky.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
Let me see. There was something else I wanted to ask you about your EDM mixes too. When you get into the sort of glitch stuff, is a tool like Stutter Edit too? Is that one of your go-tos, or do you have other ways to do that stuff?
The original Stutter Edit is fantastic. Unfortunately, the original Stutter Edit did not survive working past Rosetta for Pro Tools. So only Stutter Edit 2 will work on the new M1s completely. And I don't have as much love for Stutter Edit 2, but it does incredible stuff. I just I need to figure out a way if there's a way to...
Was it a big user interface change between the two? I can't remember.
Yeah, there's that, and there's a lot more things you can do with Stutter Edit 2, but it just seems like before I could bring up Stutter Edit 1, I'll just call it 1, and it just seemed like it just worked flawlessly, exactly how I wanted it to work. Right off the bat. But yeah, I do a lot of glitchy stuff. I just love what that can do.
It's fun to do. It's fun to do. And we've lost, in the past with all the changes with software, we lose, unfortunately, tools and plugins and things that once were. If you recall, there was one called Freeze that used to be, I forgot what company made it. And it was just so great. You just run sounds through it, and then you could just hit the freeze button, and it would just freeze chunks of audio. And I'm sure other ones do that. Probably Sound Toys has some freeze function.
Yeah, Sound Toys. Was it Sound Blender? Is that the one? Yeah, that's
right. I think that's sort of like Sound Blender is a little bit like a granular synth version of a freeze plugin, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you can. Yeah, it's really cool. I love that thing.
With in the interest of knowing you've got a session coming up, let me ask you a couple of quick questions. When you started out in recording, BZ, what do you think was holding you back?
What was holding me back? I guess when I was first starting out, isolation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like having a real, like, full-on studio with isolation. I think that was the hardest hurdle. because then, I had to build out a place. And I built out a place in downtown San Francisco, and I was there for about a decade. But I had about the same size control booth that I have now, but a much bigger live space. And that was wonderful when I finally got that. But before that, I was just working at some little office space with little cubicle for isolate. I mean, it was a nightmare. I mean,
right.
That was
finding,
ridiculous.
allowing ourselves to create a dedicated place to work, that's a first move.
Mm-hmm.
What about when you think about that question, what was holding you back when you think about it in terms of your music making as a creator? You've been making music for a while, but initially, what do you think was holding you back in stepping up and just being, making some tracks, making some music in the library music?
I don't know, man. Nothing was holding me back.
Nothing. All right, I love
nothing's holding me back. I mean, yeah, I mean, for being a recording studio, having a separated control booth, separating recorded space, and soundproof, that's the big difference. And being able to record drums, that's a big difference.
Yeah. Big time.
I think early on, we're talking in the 90s, even in the early 90s, I think not having big orchestral libraries and depending on the sounds that synths had for orchestral sounds, that was kind of, that's all we could work with, though, really. I mean, yeah.
So we got to come up with good parts and arrangements.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Man,
all right.
I had to do,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, I had to do a bunch of arrangements for big band stuff for one of the poker shows I worked on. And holy smokes, let's talk about arrangements. Man, that kicked my ass. I do a lot of orchestral stuff and I have no problems coming up with orchestral parts. But man, arranging for big band stuff was super difficult. I mean, figuring that out was a bugaboo. But yeah, you talk about arrangements.
You think it's just because of the unusual collection of instruments in a big band, or because
I think it's mostly my inexperience with writing in that genre.
Okay, all right, fair.
Yeah. But
all right,
but I got over that.
This next question is hypothetical, and I love to ask it of all our guests on the show. We're going to take the Wayback Studio machine, and you go back in time, and you find young BZ, and you say, "Listen, dude, the good news is you're still going to have all this hair on your head, man, when you get to be my age. That you're going to rock. The other good news is you can still, shred on a guitar. But I did want to come back and give you this one bit of advice. Here's the single most important thing you need to know about to be a rock star of the studio yourself one day. What advice would you go back and give yourself if you could?
I would probably say I probably should have lived in LA. I always wonder, if I would have moved to LA instead of San Francisco, instead of the Bay Area, would my life be different? I always wonder about that. I don't know. I'm still writing for film, TV stuff, living up here. I'm still, I work every day, recording bands and artists. So I don't know if my life would be completely different, but it might be, I don't know.
Well, it sounds like you guys, two things I can tell you. One is, it's probably a little bit easier to get around town than it is in LA. And two is, it sounds like you guys have some really cool social events between AES and music nerds or audio nerds.
Yeah, audio nerds. Yeah.
So
yeah, we do.
San Francisco's the place to be for that.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of band things happening now, which weren't happening even a couple of years ago. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the kids are picking up instruments these days.
Yeah, and they're getting really good.
Yeah, I know. Damn Instagram. Well, dude, thank you for joining me on the show, man. It's been a blast to meet you. Rockstars, a reminder, we have links to BZ Lewis's work in the show notes, website, playlist, discography, and it's really, really good stuff. So go check it out. If you got your AirPods on or your headphones, just go listen to the mixes and hear how expansive they are. It really translates. One of the things I appreciate is that the Atmos mixes like that, if you don't have all the speakers, you can hear how it still translates even with headphones. You hear all this wonderful space around the music in a nice way. Let the listeners know how can they find you? How can they connect with you, BZ?
Studio Yeah, studio132.com. It's studio132.com. You can find me there. Yeah.
Awesome.
I call it Studio 132 because the 1 and the 3 kind of look like a B, and if you straighten out the 2, it looks like a Z.
Oh, nice, man.
Yeah, fun with numbers, right? Yeah.
Fun with numbers, numerology. And then Rockstars, thanks for joining us for another episode. If you're listening to this, come on over to Come Into the Light, man. We're on video now on YouTube and whatever video channels in the future. So come join us there. And then if you're on YouTube, hit that like button and subscribe so you get more of these from us. It really actually helps the show. It also helps the algorithm put this in front of other people who are really going to enjoy it. And then drop a comment and let us know, just say hello in the comments below. BZ, do you have any questions for the rock stars they could answer in the comments? What would you like to know?
I don't know.
What do you want to know about whoever's this one person who's listening to you right now?
Hey, reach out. Send me an email. Introduce yourself.
I love it.
Like, I'm all about building community, man. I just love it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Rockstars, if you have questions about how to build community in your own neighborhood, too, drop a comment in.
Yeah.
Well, dude, thank you for joining us, man. It is important. It is important, especially when
it's
we get
everything.
Too comfy in our own studios. We got to get out there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Pizza
man,
and a
this
good
is
record.
fun.
Yeah, great to meet you, man. Thank you for joining us, dude, and I'll see you around the studio.
Yeah, I'll see you in Nashville. AES.
I'll see you in Nashville for AES.
All right, cool. Awesome. That was, dude, you rock. That's awesome.
Thanks so much for listening to Recording Studio Rockstars. If you enjoyed the show and want to help make it better, then please share this episode with your friends on social media and leave a rating and review on iTunes to help the podcast reach more rock stars like yourself. You can click directly over to iTunes or go to rsrockstars.com/review for an easy explanation. And remember to hit the subscribe button to keep up with weekly episodes. And if you're ready to make your best record ever now, then head over to Recording Studio Rockstars Academy, where you can start with my free course at mixmasterbundle.com. Thanks so much for listening, and thanks for being a rock star. I'm Lid Shaw, and this is Recording Studio Rockstars. Now, go make great music. Recording Studio Rockstars would like to give a big thank you to our fantastic sponsors who make this episode possible. Native Instruments, SAE Institute, Spectra 1964, Grace Design. Check out the Spectra 1964 website for factory direct budget-saving prices on the STX 600, 100, 100D, and BBDI DirectBox. And remember to take advantage of our special coupon code ROCK10 for 10% off any plugin purchase at nativeinstruments.com. And don't forget, you can start mixing right now with my free course at mixmasterbundle.com. If you enjoyed Recording Studio Rockstars, please check out our sponsors using the links in the show notes below. These are all things I highly recommend for your studio. They're going to help you make your best record ever. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, because it's a great way to help support this show. And I'd also like to thank our fantastic team here at Recording Studio Rockstars, Vlad Weselchenko and Daria Tupesis. Thanks so much for watching and listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.